tomorrow, so kind of getting some last minute stuff together.
Sure. Oh, it's totally fine. Wasn't up to anything. Just here. So let's get started. It's just a podcast interview, and then we're gonna edit it out, and then post it to YouTube, LinkedIn, and other platforms if that's okay with you.
Yeah, let me adjust that. How's the camera look?
It looks good.
All right.
Yep. All right. So welcome, Dean. Um, Today we have Dean Karnazes, the ultra marathoner and the national best-selling author. So starting off, I've read about and listened to you talk about how you got started, challenging yourself to run 30 miles after getting drunk at a bar where you celebrated your 30th birthday. But just to set some context for viewers, what got you started on being an ultra marathoner?
I've written 5 books trying to answer that question, and I don't know. I think there was some discontent with modern life. I felt like, I did all the things that I thought would bring me happiness. I graduated from a good college, and I went to graduate school, and then I got an MBA, a business degree, and I had a very comfortable job in San Francisco. And I thought all these things would make me happy, and I was kind of miserable. I mean, there was just no struggle in my life or anything, and I just felt like I wanted to shake it up. That I wanted to do something challenging, and it just seemed like running an ultra marathon would fulfill that.
Mhm. May I ask what your personal record is in a marathon? Like, how many miles have you ran, and for how many consecutive hours?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've run continuously for 350 miles, and that was took over 80 hours. But I've also run, I ran 50 marathons in all the 50 United States in 50 days. I've run across Australia. I've run across America. So once I ran from LA to New York. So I've done a lot of different distances throughout the course of my career.
hmm Now diving into a little bit more deeper questions. You've said, I learned how to embrace the struggle because if you run from a struggle, it will crush you. But I couldn't agree with you more on this because I experienced this repeated pattern of getting comfortable and problems coming up, like dragging me down to the, place where I can no longer be satisfied anymore. So I'm sure you're aware of this already, but one day I came across a research that said our mind has evolved to always be in this alert, dissatisfied state from when we were in a hunter-gatherer society. Because if we weren't, we would have been put ourselves in danger, like not being prepared to, fight an outside tribe, suddenly attacking the village, wild animal attack, all kinds of things. So psychologists say that this mindset with a deep-rooted history is what makes us anxious and to always be in this state of discomfort and leading people to an overall unhappy life, a person who can't enjoy the now. So, could you explain why you believe that if you run from struggle, it crushes you, and the controversial relationship between that concept and living a happy life?
That's a big metaphysical question. To me, I've learned to embrace the struggle and to celebrate the struggle. So, running an ultra marathon is kind of symbolic of life. There are highs and there are lows. There are good moments and there are bad moments. And when you run an ultra marathon, um, you might experience all of these emotions within a couple hours. So, you're inevitably thinking, I can't go on, and is it worth it? And why do I do this sport? Why am I here? I'm out in the middle of nowhere. It's 2 in the morning. I'm on a trail, and to me, that's the time just to look up and howl and be thankful that you're alive. So I've learned to do the same thing with my struggles in life. Is when I'm in a bad place, I can elevate beyond it by just saying, this really sucks. Like, this is really a horrible moment in your life. I think this is the worst moment you've ever had. And then be happy about that. Yeah, like let's experience the full range of human emotions. From the elation of you know, winning a prize or winning a race to the crushing lows of, everything we experience as humans.
Yes. And this question here is being asked by one of the audiences, and her name is Sam Harb. So, when I started my journey in practicing mindfulness, I didn't think it was going to be effective. How I thought of it before was, how does thinking about my problems help me in any way? Unless I solve the problem, I'm going to be worrying about it until it's solved. But when I started practicing mindfulness, I realized a lot of the problems we think are big naturally go away by just acknowledging our emotions toward them. It just makes me realize the problems are not as big as I thought they were, and they're all in my head. At the same time, though, I'm worried this might make me not worry about anything, and therefore makes me lose the desire to take actions, to make changes to get out of this state of discomfort. Can you give me some insights on balancing that?
Yeah, I think it's a difference between a real threat and a perceived threat, and it always happens to me when I I come home with the weight of the world on my shoulders, and then I go running, and somehow an hour or two later I walk back through that same door. Nothing has changed except my mindset and my perception of the threat. And so if we can just shift our paradigm a bit, I think that helps us put threats and concerns and struggles in perspective. If there are persistent issues that are bringing you down, they need to be addressed, obviously. But I think it's most important to first look at these issues and say, are you making more of this than it really is?
This one is being asked by a male audience. You've said that only by daring, risking, and moving out of our comfort zone can we find ourselves. And if we choose not to push ourselves beyond the comfort zone, expanding and learning, we're basically choosing non existence. And could you please elaborate on that and why we get to find ourselves in the face of opposition and adversity?
Well, I think I'm Greek, and when I look back at the ancient Greeks and the Oracle at Delphi, one of his pronouncements was "Know thyself." And I think that the way you learn about yourself is not through being content and being safe. You learn about yourself by situations that push you beyond what makes you feel comfortable, and, uh, and it scares you. And to me, you only learn, when you're in the act of doing something that's so out of the ordinary that it really gives you insight into who you are. And that's why I really recommend everyone should run a marathon because you will learn more about yourself in those 26.2 miles of running than you previously knew in an entire lifetime. Running a marathon builds character, but it also reveals character.
Mhm. What would be the first activity you'd guide people on for them to start following higher callings, start challenging themselves to discover who they are?
I think it starts with the physical body, and I really believe this. I think it's nearly impossible to realize your dreams unless your body is healthy. So don't look at fitness as something you gotta do. Look at it as a priority in your life, as important as anything else. And I think once you have physical fitness, then you can pursue mental excellence and everything else. But it all starts to me with physical fitness and physical excellence.
You've said that in a race that when the gun goes off and you cross the starting line, all the anxiety you had about the race up to that point goes away all of a sudden. And you said that it's always in the buildup of something you feel anxiety about the action. And when we're taking the action, the anxiety all of a sudden disappears. Let's talk about the art of taking actions.
Yeah. I mean, the hardest point to me sometimes is just getting out the front door, right? We know what we need to do, but finding that inner strength to do it is not always easy. So, again, I get back to the physical, and I encourage anyone watching this to literally sign up for a marathon. And I say sign up because that gives you like a sense of urgency. And if you've got to run a 26.2 mile race, 5 or 6 months down the road, it's going to inherently motivate you to get out the door and train.
What do you think about when you're running?
I think about everything and I think about nothing. And that's, to me, the purity and the joy and the way running kind of cleanses your soul is that you're free to think for yourself. And, certainly anyone in your era is constantly bombarded. I mean, the amount of noise that comes at you in a given day is just insane. Be it from your screen, from an ad, whatever. But to me, it's fundamentally being human. It's just going and running on a trail by yourself, being out in nature, and that to me is what gives me life. It's just rejuvenating by going on a run and not listening to music, not doing anything except listening to the pounding of my heart.
Hmm. So, from looking at your background, you were a business student and then you graduated, you worked for a company, and then you were pretty set for life. You got stock options, you had company cars, and everything was pretty much, prepared for you to just, thrive on. But I'm thinking you probably did all these things because at that time your goal was to be financially stable. But right now you're on this path that a lot of people are scared to take. That this is something very unconventional that you're doing from being on this strictly business road. So as you were diving into this career path, how did you block out all the noises that your surroundings were giving you?
That's a good question, and I have to admit it was terrifying giving up my corporate job and that kind of security. Uh, you got to remember as well that this is I'm not a young man. This this is 30 years ago, and there was no such thing as a gig economy. I mean, nowadays it's much easier to have a side gig, have a TikTok channel or whatever, or a YouTube channel, and kind of make a go of it. Earning some extra income, doing something you're more passionate about than your normal career. But for me to step away from my corporate job and say I'm going to become an ultra marathoner, which how do you pay the bills as an ultra marathoner? It was really scary, and I just had this epiphany in a bar on my 30th birthday, as you talked about in the introduction, where I saw the rest of my life, and I said, do you want to be adventurous or do you want to live life by convention? I mean, what is the path you want to follow? And when I looked into my heart, I said, you're not a traditionalist. You're very you're a nonconformist. So choose your own path and follow it.
Mhm. Whether it be an aspiring marathoner, entrepreneur, artist, or whoever, what is one piece of advice you'd like to give to people who are looking to start challenging themselves in the near future?
I think you need to again look inward, and I'm always going to go back to a physical challenge. I think it all starts with a physical challenge because it is physically challenging yourself, especially to a race. It's so quantifiable. You have a start time, you have a goal, you know where the finish line is, you know what you have to do. So the rules of engagement are pretty clear. You know what it takes to succeed. You get from the starting line to the finish line. So I would say, uh, you know, running specifically because it's very approachable. It's you don't need a lot of gear, and it's horrible. Running is tough, and it challenges you, and it can be miserable. And I think that's why you should take up a physical challenge like running a marathon. I keep getting back to this, but it's so important because it teaches you about goal setting. It teaches you about high achievement.
Mhm. So initially, you didn't all of a sudden become an ultra marathoner. You probably did something to build up to that point. So, what is one specific type of marathon you'd recommend to a starter?
Yeah, I think that you can start with what's called a 10K, a 10-kilometer race, and that's 6.2 miles. And then certainly the next step from that is a half marathon, which is 13.1 miles. And then if you think you can do a full marathon, then move up to a full marathon. But it's the progression from shorter distances to longer, more difficult distances is pretty straightforward.
Mhm. You're 60 years old now, but you still run 100 miles regularly. So, could you please describe the difference between you running 100 miles 10 years ago and now, and how do you think about it?
I'm running 100 miles tomorrow, in fact. So it's a good question. It is certainly more challenging now that I'm no longer a young man, but I still have the same passion for it, and I always have the same commitment at every race start, and that is just I'm going to be the best that I can be on that given day. So when I'm standing at the starting line, my commitment is that there's no guarantees you're going to make it 100 miles. There's going to be a lot of challenges along the way. There's going to be a lot of things that go wrong along the way, but just try your best. Give it all you've got. And the only way you can fail with that attitude is if you don't try your hardest. So, the outcome is always going to be uncertain, but the commitment to be the best that I can be every step of the way is always going to be there.
Mhm. I was talking to one of these CEOs from a Fortune 500 company, and he told me that when he hires, he looks at whether or not they had athletic credentials because that shows that they're, you know, persistent about what they're doing. And they're, kind of different from just people who don't have any athletic background. And that translates to, career and their professional lives. So I'm wondering, how has running helped you career wise, not just running wise?
Yeah, I mean, running has taught me discipline. So it's taught me that, there are no shortcuts to success. It just takes hard work and effort and showing up. So, if you have that sort of discipline to get up, before the sun rises and run 5 or 6 miles, uh, that carries over to anything in life. When you have a tough work assignment, or when you have a huge workload, or running an ultra marathon teaches you that you can just go further than you thought you could, and you may be better than you thought you were. So, if you have a startup, the amount of work ahead of you is just insurmountable, seemingly. But an ultra marathon teaches you that there's an old saying: "How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time." So that's something that you learn through running.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm really glad I started running regularly after hearing you talk because really I'm on the startup path right now. There's just work after work after work, and we have to switch directions sometimes that we planned out for a couple months. It's ridiculous. So I'm really thankful that I came across you.
Yeah, I'm glad you still like me.
Yeah. So for the official interview part, that was over, and yeah, really thank you for being here. And this is just a simple chat that I'm just gonna post to our channel. But one big thing though, we're launching a virtual conference division for our company, and then it's called SparkCon. Spark as in sparking up, and we're talking to for other people. We're talking to Shepard Ferry from Obey Clothing, Peter Thiel, former founder of PayPal, May Musk, mother of Elon Musk, and best-selling author, Tillman Fertitta, owner of Houston Rockets, Robert Greene, and so on. So these people, we're gonna do more like a group con. But for you, we're thinking of trying to do like a separate a solo speaker series for a conference. It's going to be held virtually, so you don't have to travel anywhere. No hassle like that. And a lot of people quite like this kind of conference nowadays because they don't really have to go to places, which used to be a popular form before. So I'm wondering, like, if you would be down for a virtual conference, somewhere in the summer, like late May, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I'm not traveling, I prefer to do it when I'm not on the road because I'm a little distracted. But if we can find it, do you have a set date, or are you just saying we can do it at a date when I'm in the U.S.?
At a date that works for you, just any date. But what I'm thinking of right now is late May because we have to sell the tickets and everything, so we have to market it.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty quick. Oliver, I don't
Hmm.
know, May to sell and market it. That's a
Hmm.
really, I think that's too tight, the turnaround. I think it should
Okay.
be later. Yeah, I think
Sure.
kind of things, in my experience, they take a few months uh,
Sure.
to promote, and you got to hit people over the head a few times for them to actually add it to their calendar. So I think we should, at least for my bit, um, you know, postpone it to a little bit later in the summer, maybe.
Yeah, one of the experienced guys on our team who did events before, event hosting, told me that he could do it in 6 weeks, but we all
Well,
thought it was a bit of a tight timeline. But I'll take your advice and let's do so. What month works best for you? So basically, the split will be, we won't be taking any of the ticket sales too much besides like the marketing and everything. So 90% would go to you of the ticket sales. So there won't be, we're basically doing this so that we could, draw attention to our other aspects of our business. So we're not trying to make money off of the ticket sale. So
yeah. Just, will you package me as one individual, or will I be like one of many people that are packaged together and presented?
just one person for you for a solo speaker series, because other people are all business oriented business people, but you'll be the first athlete that we'll be covering.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's consistent with your company's mission, that it makes sense authentically to have an athlete. And I want to know the questions, in advance, so that I can, prepare my answers a little more scripted. But I'm thinking, I think maybe a June timeline, a June or early July timeline.
Sure. All right, that could work. So it's a virtual conference, and then it's just you with hundreds of different people, just you speaking there. So it won't be much of a hassle for you. We won't have to schedule like physical spaces or anything.
And
So
it's live.
it is live, yes.
Yeah, these things, they take some pre-promotion. Like you need to make some graphics,
Sure.
unless you have like an existing email list where like, is this an ongoing series or is it something you're starting up?
We're starting up, but we basically have these speakers that we're talking to right now for the upcoming talks over the summer.
Mhm.
And we're basically collecting a wait list of speakers, and the people I told you about are likely going to speak our event. So you'll be like first athlete that we'll be covering.
Yeah, I like the idea, and
Sure.
like I said, let me. Why don't we coordinate this through email? I'm kind of
Hmm.
traditional in that regard because I get so overwhelmed with other channels. So let's take this back up on email and
Hmm.
coordinate the time and date and so forth.
Sure. Just any time that works for you. It's called SparkCon because we want to spark the, inner flame within people. And that's what my brand is all about. We're making all the products on community, people following passion and everything.
Mm.
So it aligns with our brand's value definitely.
Yeah, yeah, I love it.
All right.
Let's make it happen.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for this time, and I'll let you go. You got a big run day tomorrow. And good luck with that. Where can I watch that?
Well, it's called the Canyons 100, like a canyon, and I think they have
Okay.
like a like a live tracking. But
Okay.
it's not. There's I got to be honest. There's really not much to watch because it's you're running 100 miles out in the wilderness, so it's not like there's any sort of live footage. I mean, you just see a little dot on a map, moving along kind of thing.
Hmm. All right, but if I could watch it, I'll definitely try to find it in YouTube or YouTube Live or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's a GPS guide. It's not like
Hmm.
being out there at mile 40 talking to a camera because it's just
Hmm.
all on a remote trail.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so good luck with that, and really thank you for this time. And I really enjoyed your talk at Brooks about a year ago. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was like, doing that penguin thing. There was a whole meme going around that school for like weeks after you left. It
Oh,
was very interesting.
that's good. Yeah.
All right, man.
All
Good
right.
luck.
Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you.
Take care. We'll be in touch.
Take